Lately, the skies have been full of weird stuff. Russians, aliens, drones, and all kinds of crap flying around up there. But recently, something strange happened right here in Sweden, and somehow I totally missed it. Probably because I don't really read the news or watch regular TV like an NPC, but once this story landed on my radar, I had to dig deeper. And here's what I found. Mysterious lights in the Luleå archipelago. It was terrifying. The fishing trip has just begun when the morning sky filled with strange lights. There were so many of them, not 10, but between 50 and 100. It was terrifying, said Robert Karlsson, a professional fisherman. The space scientist on the mysterious light phenomenon, he says, "What was the strange light in the sky? Nothing has been confirmed yet, but the researcher doesn't believe it was satellites. It sounds like something completely different," said Johan Kero, researcher at the Swedish Institute of Space Physics in Kiruna. Claes Svan, chairman of UFO Sweden, doesn't believe the lights have any unusual explanation. The mysterious lights over the Luleå archipelago must likely have a natural explanation, and it's not drones, UFOs or military activity. The color shifts the fishermen saw are typical, said Claes Svan. The lights in the sky have been explained. At least that's the official story. Or maybe the fishermen got a visit from the government and suddenly changed their story, from seeing 50 to 100 objects to just a planet and 2 stars. I don't know. Maybe it's all a huge nothing burger, or maybe it isn't. I leave it at that. I don't want a knock on my door tonight. Let's continue. What sounded like a full-on drone invasion has now been explained as a few astronomical objects. Claes Svan says, at around 5:30 on Sunday morning, October 12th, fishermen Robert Karlsson and Axel Nordmark were out in separate boats, somewhere between Sandön and Junkön. They made their observation. Robert told the newspaper he saw a bright object he first thought was a planet. But to reporter Claes Halvares, Claes Svan says, planets don't blink, and this thing was flashing red, green and white. He was actually right about that. Venus, which rose later, shone with a steady light, as did Jupiter, which was higher in the sky. Then we saw another one, and when we looked around, there were tons of them, said Robert. We're not talking 10. More like 50 to 100 of them. Like many others these days, he suspected drones, but neither the military nor the police could confirm that. And there were no exercises going on nearby. When Claes Svan from UFO Sweden later spoke with Robert, who works as a fisherman and harbor pilot, a day had passed since the incident. He told him again that it was a bright object that caught his attention. Robert said, "It was flashing red, green and white. That's when I started wondering what it was. But now it's the same thing again today. I saw the same stationary. Must be a satellite." Claes replied, "No, it's not satellites. Satellites don't stay still." Robert said, "You could see it clearly through binoculars. We were east of Junkön, around 150 to 155 degrees, southeast. It stayed visible the whole time." During their conversation, Robert kept guessing it might be a satellite, even asked about Starlink, but nothing matched what they'd seen. The conclusion was that the 2 bright objects Robert first noticed were actually the stars Sirius and Betelgeuse, or Betelgeuse. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, his own descriptions perfectly match their position in the morning sky. As for the other objects, they weren't drones either. Drones wouldn't appear in the exact same spot at the same time 2 days in a row. Those turned out to be stars as well. Robert later said, "I understand now that what we saw were astronomical objects. I feel kind of stupid." Klaus reassured him, "You're far from stupid. Even air traffic controllers and pilots have made the same mistake over the years." Robert also mentioned that he'd been getting flooded with calls, but avoided answering unknown numbers. Even reporter Klaus Halvares received tons of emails and calls from people trying to stop him from talking to UFO Sweden. Isn't it kind of weird that so many people contacted them and didn't want UFO Sweden to get involved, for some reasons unknown to me? What if the fisherman's first story was actually the truth, but they somehow got persuaded to go along with the stars and planets explanation? Or maybe, hear me out, did the so-called tons of people who tried to stop him from talking to Klaus Swan at UFO Sweden already know he'd shut the whole story down, since they're working with the government? Think about that plot twist. And this is for entertainment purposes only, and if I stop uploading, well, y'all know what happened. So now that we have cleared that big nothing burger up, I can also tell you a bit more about what's been going on in the news lately. Like when the Russians were supposedly spying on our Nordic airports, or was it aliens trying to kidnap and probe poor tourists at the airport? Who knows? But the paranoia is real, and it runs deep. But anyway, Sweden's most embarrassing and worst newspaper, called Aftonbladet, which are absolute masters of clickbait and best known for writing a bunch of mindless nonsense. They reported on dangerous drone invasions and Russian spies. And apparently all the airline passengers got really worried and scared. Yeah, I can totally see how terrified they are looking. Last I heard, there were also drones or UAPs spotted in Norway, Poland, Romania and Estonia too. Anyway, this video was meant to clear things up a bit after everything we've seen and heard here on YouTube from non-Swedish speaking creators. And that's all. Have a great day. Bye.